Good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever this video or podcast finds you. My name is Ethan Harper, and I am the lead administrator for the GenJ Alumni Discord, or the Generation Joshua Alumni Discord. Here today with me, I have a very special interview. This might be like an alumni interview, although I don't know if our guest today can quite classify as an alumni. Not only is he an alumni, he is the director a couple times over and currently the lead on multiple interesting projects, some of which we'll talk about today. Today's guest with me here in the remote studio is Mr. Joel Grewe. How are you doing today, Joel?
I'm doing good, Ethan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You are most welcome. You're welcome here anytime. You're welcome. Well, I mean, it is kind of your shop to begin with.
The
Although,
irony of this is not lost on me. Well,
yes,
of a sort, yes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah,
We'll talk about some of that today, I guess.
yes. You have lots of shops. You could classify yourself as a chain at this point with the amount of shops that you have, like your
I think
own
I'm
your own
starting to
little.
collect them.
Yes. Um, it's the not iron. I don't know if irony is the right word, but there was a time where you referenced me in a media piece, and now it seems we have come full circle, and I am now referencing to you in a media piece, and that the mind blowingness of this situation is just absolutely bananas to me. But
It's a little absurd when you start thinking about it. It truly is.
yeah. So, Joel, I mean, we're here to talk about some of your shops, but just as a brief introduction to all of this and what's going on. How long have you been with GenJ? What is a small list of things that you have done in and outside of GenJ? Just like, if you can summarize your journey to the center of the earth here. How long have you been with GenJ, and what were some of the things that got you to GenJ, and then what have you done? Like a short
All right.
list of
Yeah.
things in GenJ.
Sure, sure. Let me give you the 90,000 foot version of this. Or we might spend most of our time talking about the story, and that's not the point of today.
No.
Although at some point we should have that conversation too. I joined Gen J as an intern in 2007.
Okay.
I was the only intern because they couldn't figure out how to get the paperwork through to have me be a part timer. That took about 4 weeks. So I was an intern to start with. Then I became a part timer. I ended up working as the club's guy. So kind of what Glenn did for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we discovered about halfway through the year that Gen J ran a summer camp, and that was kind of new to the people that were currently administrating it at the time. And we needed a summer camp, and we needed it really fast. So myself and a friend, a guy I met across the hall who worked in a different department, but he seemed interesting enough, and one other person, someone who became my intern really quickly. The three of us sat down and built what was going to become the Gen J Summer Camp, and the theme for the first year was called I Govern. And then we're like, that's a really good name. So we actually made that the name for the camp. But the guy across the hall was a guy named Jeremiah Lorig, who I'm pretty sure you're familiar with. And then Brittany Barden, if you want to go really old school, was the kind of the intern at the time, who was an alumni who was attending Patrick Henry College. And that's where we're headquartered, their campus. And yeah, so that was 2007. I've been involved in Gen J as the director since I think 2012. Kind of worked my way up, deputy director within about a year and a half, or one of a pair, and then the only deputy director. Director 2012 through 2019, which point I became the executive director for HSLDA Action, which was the parent organization that held Gen J. Gave the reins to Jeremiah a couple of years later after trying to do both at the same time. That doesn't work well. Up until the last 6 months or so. And then I've kind of been in that role for a little bit as well again. But Gen J's always been in my portfolio ever since 18 years ago.
That's wild, dude. That is wild. And for just as a reminder for audience members, GenJ celebrated its 20th anniversary last year. So,
Hmm.
which, I mean, when you're listening to this, it'll be 2026. In 2024, it celebrated its 20th year,
Right,
which
right.
is crazy to think about. Anyways,
For
so
an organization
that's
that works with teens, that's a remarkable lifespan, actually.
like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Any organization that's been around that long is kind of a remarkable lifespan, especially organizations as small as what Generation Joshua has been. It's touched a lot of people, but when you think about it, the organization itself isn't that big.
No, no,
So,
we've had about 30,000 plus students come through it, but it's always been run by, a team of like maybe 5 or 6 at most, not
which
counting the many, many wonderful summer interns.
are
It gets,
the
the lift gets done by a much larger team, but as far as the staff, it's always actually been a pretty small shop.
So, speaking of shops, we are here to do an interview not about your time as an alumni, but kind of your time as a not alumni. I heard a rumor. I heard that there's something called Project Pathfinder.
There is. So, yeah.
The
Okay,
amount
so
of glee on your face is indicative of how excited you are about this, and
I really am.
I have the pleasure of knowing you personally and being able to interact with you on a weekly, almost daily basis, and I know how excited you are for this. So, how let's see, how do we want to talk about this?
Well,
Maybe we should address the elephant in the room first.
probably that
Probably.
because without that, it doesn't really where we're at doesn't really make a lot of sense. So let me see if I can take a stab at that first. Most people who are listening to this probably are aware that HSLDA, which Generation Joshua was part of, chose in the fall of 2005 to end the program. It's been around for 20 plus years. They I'm not going to go into the reasons for their decision, but they chose to wrap it up. There's a few things that they did as part of that process. HSLDA has always been in the homeschool advocacy space. Citizenship was a part of that, good citizenship, leadership development, that sort of thing, civics education. But we also worked for a long time in the straight up kind of candidate advocacy space as far as trying to put good people in office. GenJ was the primary means for doing that, and HSLDA chose to withdraw from candidate politics into basically just the policy and legal side of it. And there's reasons for that. To that end, GenJ was the primary vehicle for doing the political advocacy, and we did that as part of an educational effort for teens to teach them how citizenship worked. But HSLDA chose not to do that anymore, so at which point part of the reason for them having GenJ closed down. So they folded up the program. It is what it is. I'll just say it up front. There's plenty of stuff about that I probably can't and shouldn't talk about, so I'm not going to. But that's what happened. GenJ shut down in November, December 2005.
You mean 2025?
2025. I'm sorry.
I was about to say,
Sorry,
not
2025.
2005.
It's
Like,
it's been a couple months, okay, and it's been busy. So that being said, because GenJ as it existed wasn't something that HSLDA viewed as being necessary to its primary mission. That's a little bit of a different thing, however, from saying that what GenJ does isn't good and important, or what GenJ did. I guess that's a better way of doing it. And I was approached as the program wound down by a series of alumni and partners, organizations and individuals who'd worked with GenJ over the past 20 plus years, and who I've been privileged to work with. And they range from people on Capitol Hill to parents to alumni to organizations across the states, candidates, some of the campaign work, some of the different professional shops, and just said, hey, there's a bunch of us who would like to see what GenJ did not go away. Now, obviously, that's HSLDA's, and that's what it is. But it filled a very specific niche within, call it Christian and political kind of conservative realms, specifically relevant to high schoolers. And there's only so many shops that do that, and as far as how they work. And GenJ had some unique distinctives that these groups were like, we don't want to see that go away. And I said, well, HSLDA owned GenJ. They've shut it down. That's what it is. They said, well, if we were able to put together some resources, would you be willing to see if you could take that and maybe build on your experience and what GenJ did? I know you have ideas that were put on the table that we never kind of implemented through HSLDA, and I have lots and lots of those. My staff will tell you that most of Joel's ideas we shove in a box because we don't have time for them, or the ability or the resources or for whatever limitation. So there was a whole lot of stuff that we wanted to do with GenJ or that we thought could be done with GenJ that didn't necessarily mesh well with HSLDA's interest. Okay, fine. That was GenJ was part of HSLDA. But what GenJ could do, or at least what the idea of GenJ could do, was always a bigger vision than what HSLDA's was. And that's fine. And this kind of presented an opportunity to say, what if we took this, taking HSLDA's kind of obligations over GenJ off the table, and we reinvented the idea in some new fashion that was essentially built to not be GenJ, to be essentially bigger than GenJ, what GenJ could have been, without the, admittedly at the time, necessary linkage to HSLDA. And so we said, if we took those limiters off and we said, here's what it can be, what would that look like? And so we've spent myself, a couple of the staff members at GenJ, have spent the last several months going, okay, if we were to take what we loved about GenJ, we're not GenJ, but if we took what we loved about that, the kind of the hands-on education, the citizen engagement, the leadership development, the love for the Lord and the love to love other people because we love the Lord, what it means to be a good citizen. And we took that, kind of reworked that a little bit, as well as kind of taking some of those ideas that never were going to fit well within HSLDA, but would have fit really well with GenJ. We said, okay, what if we took that together and made something new? And I would argue something better. What would that look like? Is that even possible? Well, the answer was yes. Yes, in fact, it was. In fact, it's pretty remarkable. And that gave birth to what we are calling Project Pathfinder. That is going to be, or is, a new organization that I am privileged to lead, with a decent number of the team, either in a supporting roles or actually a staff from the people that a lot of the GenJ alumni will recognize from GenJ. So that's right. Project Pathfinder. It's not GenJ. It's not
GenJ. Like, that is.
It is not GenJ.
Like,
nope.
Oh, GenJ
not part of GenJ.
Back.
It doesn't have.
No, GenJ is not back.
Nope.
GenJ is.
No,
gone.
it is not. It is not. However, what it is it takes, call it, the heart and soul from the people that were involved in that, and their love for our country, their love for teens, their love for good, high quality education, and helping inspire teens to make a difference in that area and to take their roles as both citizens and also, we hope, as believers seriously. It is that piece of it. And that was never something that was kind of trademarked or owned by GenJ. That's something that comes with individuals. But it also takes a lot of the kind of the inspiration from some of the amazing stuff that GenJ was able to do. If you were ever part of the summer camps or part of the intensives or part of some of the other programs we did, there were principles and ideas that we'd worked on for the last 20 plus years. It was probably 60 years worth of experience from the team in saying, what is the best way to teach students about how to be engaged in politics, how to be engaged in policy, how to be engaged in government, how to be good citizens, how to be believers in those roles, and how do we present that? And HSLDA is not doing that anymore. So we're not competing with them. That's not our goal. Okay. But we do think there's a need within the current culture that this sort of expertise can fill, and we're calling that Project Pathfinder. So it's going to be something, some of it you're going to recognize and say, hey, that looks familiar. Yeah, well, I mean, it has inspiration from there. It's not the same thing, but you'll see some inspirational pieces. There's other stuff where you're going to be like, GenJ never did that. No, it did not. Okay. It was stuff that could have been done, possibly. Some stuff actually couldn't have been, but stuff that we always thought fit well within the broader mission that we fell in love with, that we think the Lord laid on our hearts to do. I'm happy to kind of explain some of the details about this.
Well, okay, then yeah, let's do details. So there are nerds out there. Yes, I know you're there. I could name you and call you out, but I shall not.
As a nerd,
for the nerds, not you specifically, but
absolutely.
For the nerdy McNerds out there who are like, oh well, what is Project Pathfinder, and like, are you gonna be a for-profit or a non-profit? Can you do things? Are you still going to campaign? Hello.
Yeah.
What it's
Let
my
me give you the
understanding.
short version of that.
Yeah, we talked a little bit before the show, and you were like, it's technically two organizations, but we call it Project Pathfinder as like an overall concept, kind of like we say that GenJ was part of HSLDA, even though it was technically branded under HSLDA Action. So, can you give us just
Correct.
a
Correct.
little bit of the
Yeah.
technical stuff for the
Sure.
nerds?
Sure. So Project Pathfinder is actually a C3 and a C4. If you're not familiar, those are both types of nonprofits. So it's a corporation. They have the C3 does stuff that is essentially charitable work. It'll be able to be supported by donations. Everything in that it will be tax deductible, and it's designed to do the educational work or to kind of support the educational work of Project Pathfinder. The C4 allows us to do issues advocacy and some other forms of advocacy that we'll talk about in a little bit. Those entities are the work together. The C3 is very carefully constructed to only do stuff that qualifies under the C3 things as far as the IRS goes. The C4 has a little more freedom. But they work as a partner entity. So there's Project Pathfinder and Project Pathfinder Action, if you want to be technical about it, which is important from a legal perspective. I serve as the president of both. Okay, so we'll be working in those realms. That allows us to do a lot of the things that we've loved. Okay, that's everything from if you want to do summer camps, if you want to do like hands-on learning, but if you want to go get involved in everything from like disaster relief or even some sort of policy or political advocacy, all of those options are on the table as a result of that legal structure. So it's actually two entities that are working in harmony. One of them specifically for the charitable nonprofit work, one of them a little bit more of the political or kind of the policy advocacy realm, kind of the social welfare, as it were.
Something piqued my interest. You said that staff is involved here, but with the dissolving, the Thanos snapping, if you will, of Generation Joshua. Um,
What
where
does
I
that
mean,
mean?
what does that mean? Because right now, as of the end of summer camp 2025, we learned that Abby Hoke and Brent Edmonston were both leaving the GenJ team, and at that point,
And Jeremiah.
And
Yeah.
Jeremiah was leaving. Liz Schotzinger had already left, so
Yeah.
that left you, Daniel, Alyssa, and Glenn.
Sure.
So
Sure. So
what's going on?
a little
What
bit
are
of the
the
structure.
faces?
So as far as we're doing a couple things. Myself, actually, part of the entity. Alyssa and Glenn, who probably many of you know, are coming with it to be part of that particularly. We also, however, have put together kind of a board of directors to go with this, and it's kind of your leadership team to kind of make sure that things are kept on track, as well as kind of helping support it in its implementation. A lot of them have expertise. You'll recognize a lot of the names on that. Jeremiah Lorg serves as the vice chairman of that. Oh, that name sounds familiar. Daniel Huffington is our chaplain, which, if you've been around, is probably not a surprise at all. That as far as that particular role. Chaz Toplicar, if you've been around iGovern, you probably know him. Or if you're one of the older alumni that have been around, he's serving on the board as well. Parker Sorensen is our treasurer, which if you know anything about the Sorensens, particularly Parker, you'll be like, and that is an automatic fit. So there's an element of that. Brant is currently actually going to be looking to be added to the board. He's been involved in some of this as well, but have a certain number that's expanding as we go forward. So you're going to see most of the names, not all of them. Some of them are just volunteering. I think most of the staff have been volunteering, helping get this off the ground in one form or the other, as well as a decent number of alumni who've been involved in GenJ, had it kind of built into their life and want to help continue that opportunity for people going forward. But as far as the formal staff team, it's myself, Alyssa, and Glenn. As far as the with titles, Daniel and Jeremiah from the staff team are involved. Brant should be on that shortly. Yeah, that's kind of the team. So you'll see a lot of the names and faces around, not quite necessarily doing the exact same things, but a lot of their heart and soul still in it.
Excellent. Well, that'll be good. That'll be nice to see that they're still there and still with the mission that they were very obviously called to. Like, it seemed particularly back when I was doing camp. I mean, I interfaced with a lot of interns, but the core staff, especially as I've gotten to know you guys since being in your general area and working with you and seeing you guys, some of you at church and stuff like that. I know that this mission definitely was definitely a call to you
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. So, but that's good. You mentioned that as we're going, like, you've mentioned a lot of stuff. You've got your staff, you've got the technical doodads of like the C3 and the C.
Yeah.
That's just the how, and everybody says, well, if somebody were to ask you, an alumni, or you, a student, why does this need to continue? Why is this mission so important? You have, if you're like me, you can probably come up with one or two things that are like in the core values of GenJ. Like, it promotes leadership in teens, it emphasizes what a good citizen should be, it lifts others up in a Christ-like manner, it's a conservative movement. Like, you can think of one or two of those things, but there's just something in there that's like, because it needs to continue. Because, so Joel, can you put your because into words?
I think this work is essential to continue because we will always have a next generation of citizens and leaders in our country, at least if it stays the way it's designed and structured, and I think the way that it ought to be. And that requires that they know kind of three things. They must know what it means to be a good citizen, how that works. They need to understand the responsibilities that come with that. They also need to know what that advocacy looks like how to do it. That can be candidate advocacy, that can be policy advocacy, that can be kind of cultural advocacy, but there's an aspect of that that they need to be aware and be able to be engaged in and be able to lead in, because to be honest, a lot of what GenJ did was the development of leaders. And that investment isn't something that's done in 5 or 10 years. That investment is done in 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. That's a long-term game. I call it a life insurance policy for a country, not it's not a short-term investment, it's a long-term investment. So those are two of the reasons. But I think the third one is really crucial in the sense that we need the next generation of kind of believers who are able to be engaged culturally and, if necessary, politically in their country's governance. Like, there's an aspect of citizenship that says being responsible for how your government and your country runs is kind of an aspect of us as individuals. And that is done by people who show up, that's where leadership happens. The people that are going to show up need to understand how the government works, why it works that way, how to have an impact on it for a positive end. And they also need to not just be effective at political and policy advocacy, they need to have the moral foundation and principles to go along with that. Because if you're really, really effective at politics and policy, but you don't really have a moral core, well, essentially you're a political hack, and we've got lots of those. We don't need more. On the flip side, if you have really firm principles, but you have no idea how to communicate to them, like, you're well grounded, but you have no ability to actually lead. And so this kind of the value proposition here is that we're not only going to equip you to be effective advocates, but we're going to make sure you have the foundational moral core and principles to do it in a way that doesn't send you flying off the rails. And there's so many different voices and so many different kind of guidance and leading and pressure and distraction that currently exists in culture, just in general. And there's even more of it aimed at young adults who, frankly, honestly, are going to be the ones responsible for the next 10, 20, 30, 50 years before they get swept away by the tide of cultural chaos that's coming through here. Okay? Before they get kind of bowled over by whatever the next thing is running around, we need to make sure they have good, solid principles and kind of the base skill set to go, here's how I evaluate. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this true? Is it not? Is it right? Is it wrong? And then how do I take that and how do I implement that both in my personal life, in my community that I live in, and in the broader country that I am responsible for as a citizen? And so there's this blending of, like, call it core principles and foundations, advocacy, leadership, and those skill sets need to be given to people, frankly, at the high school level. At college, there's a lot of voices there. there's less of that at the high school level, and frankly, less high quality equipping that's done there. Because honestly, sometimes people give a very simplified version of how advocacy works. And honestly, high schoolers are capable of quite a bit more than that, and essentially you're talking down to them. Other times, you don't give them the principles to go along with it to be able to evaluate it. And frankly, when you hit college and all the different stuff that comes into that, or whatever your future looks like post high school, there's a lot of different people saying a lot of different things, and I'm seeing an entire generation of people that are graduating and moving on who are going, I don't know how to be able to discern right versus wrong or wise versus unwise. Sometimes they can get the right versus wrong, but it's like, what is the long-term implication of that idea? What is the long-term implication of that decision or that vote or that idea? And they need to be properly equipped people to do that. And frankly, what we found is that a lot of people, even their parents, are like, we don't know how to do that. We are looking for a partner that can come alongside us and help with that. So that's kind of the why, and that's more than 5 minutes. And I need to get this into a tighter elevator pitch, but that's the why we do it. And I think that's why we've been called to it.
The mission of GenJ, the mission of Project Pathfinder, I should say, is so broad. Like, it's you can summarize it in 2 or 3 sentences, but that really doesn't encapsulate everything that it does. Like, it doesn't, the 2 or 3 sentences that you can create an elevator pitch for what it does, but it doesn't have the same effect as a 5 to 10 minute explanation of how important it is. Like, yes, it is. Yeah. It is more than a mile. Like, it is both a mile wide and a mile deep. Thankfully, it's not.
That's always been the hard part,
but yeah,
for this area of responsibility, the area we worked in, or area of calling, however you want to put that, is that to fully explain it, it doesn't happen in 30 seconds.
No, it happens in a week.
Doesn't mean it's not important. It just means it takes more time than you can put on, a social media update.
Exactly. It could take 2 days. Wink nudge. Could take a week. Wink nudge. Speaking of 2 days and a week, are the rumors true? The whispers. I've heard whispers. I
don't want to get too far out off my ledge, but
yeah.
We are trying, yes, to put together a couple things. We are in talks right now with some organizations to bring what we would call an intensive, kind of a 2-day hands-on simulation of government to some events, depending where you live, near you. This year, we're looking at some stuff a couple months down the road. There's one part of it, so that's coming, and I can't tip my hand too far because contracts aren't signed yet, but we're really looking forward to doing that.
Right.
The other thing we're working on.
That's not the thing that people are looking forward to. Let's
be
real. I'm the head Discord admin, and I notice when an entire channel basically explodes when somebody goes, who would be interested in camp in 2026, and everybody absolutely goes wild.
That was enough that it was flagging the Discord settings going, there's a lot of activity happening right now. Yeah, I know. We're trying. We would very much like to see a week-long, teen, government leadership summer camp. Name TBD. That being said, we are working on it. Contracts aren't signed. We haven't figured all the pieces out yet, although they may be by the time this airs. We'll see. But our goal is to do that this summer. Location and price permitting, that is our goal, and that is a kind of a core aspect of something we want to pick up from our culture and bring forward. Is that I think teens thrive, particularly post-COVID. Teens need that large group interaction time where you get to see them kind of work on and polish their social skills, also kind of test their ideas against other people, which is one of the things that at least at GenJ they had in a program they called iGovern was able to do really, really well. We think that shouldn't go away and could be reborn. And so that'd be something that we would very much like to do, and we're plotting for it. Glenn has been working very diligently over the last couple of weeks in kind of the preparation work for that. There's a whole lot of pieces that have to get done to make that work. But yes, that's the goal.
Okay. So with all of these TBD, and we're working on it, and there's a lot to do. The old saying is, many hands make light work.
That's true.
There are, as near as I can gather, there are kind of three main groups of people that would be interested in helping, contributing, or getting involved in this new organization in some way.
Hmm.
And those are the alumni
Hmm.
slash parents
Hmm.
and the students.
Hmm.
And, well, it's alumni slash leadership core, honestly. Alumni slash leadership core, parents and students.
Hmm.
How can those three groups get involved? And then
Well,
maybe we'll
couple
segue
ways.
into like
Okay.
donation stuff or whatever
Yeah, yeah,
that
sure, sure,
goes.
sure.
We'll
There's
talk about
several
money
ways they
stuff
can
at the
be.
end, but yeah, how can we help?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of the GenJ leadership core that have been one that are at least somewhat aware of this idea. In fact, a lot of them were the ones that came to me and said, "Hey, if we could help you, would you be interested?" And so it was kind of predicated from the get-go that if you really believe in this as much as I do, yeah, we're gonna need a hand. So a lot of them have been involved in volunteering. Um, if you're on the Discord, which hopefully you are if you're watching this, that's one of the things where you ping Ethan or myself or other people, and we'll set you up as far as ways you can be involved. There's a small army of things that are being worked on. Some stuff, unfortunately, can only be done by the actual staff, which is a little more complicated. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that can be done by volunteers. So there's a team of people, in fact, that are working on that. So if you're interested in helping in the production side of things, absolutely, and that can include everything from helping build some of our programs, some of the content we want to do, to helping be involved in summer camp prep or some of the other actions we do. Like we're working with a small team, so we travel out on the road to do events. We'll look for volunteers to come in and help. Okay, so people that have done that before, again, really valuable. If you're able to help with everything from marketing to web copy to graphics to video work to photography, like all of those are skills that are involved. If you're willing to help with running our simulations, playing the individual roles, being able to travel and be involved in some of those projects that we do as we travel around the country, we'll take all of that. If you're able to help with research, candidate or policy research, coding, database administration, we'll take that too. We've got people working in all those areas. We're setting up an entire organization, and that doesn't happen in short. That's a big lift because there's really a lot of different things it needs to do, which requires a fair number of pieces to be set up at the same time. So yeah, there's a lot of volunteer capacity that the alumni and the leadership core can be involved in. So that's definitely part of it.
Okay. What
What were the other
about
ones you want to talk about?
there were
Parents,
parents and
kids,
students, and
parents and students.
I know that there are a lot of students that are still in the Discord that are like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool," and I know how to do some of those things.
Great.
That's yeah. Just send us a message, and we'll see how you can help.
We will try to take
So
for everyone who's interested in helping
yeah,
and find ways that their skills can be put to good use.
exactly.
That doesn't mean that every skill is necessary at every point and every time, but again, this is being many hands, right? So in
Hmm.
that regard, I'm not really turning down help. I just
Yeah,
can't necessarily use all of it. Sometimes I get 8 people that are offering to do the same thing, and I only need one person, right?
yeah,
So there's an element of that. Then
yep.
I try to make the best decision I can. As far as beyond that, though, I know parents are. I've had emails and calls from parents that are involved. Give us a little bit of time as we get this up and running, and then if you're interested in this happening, send your students. Be involved in promoting this, letting other people know. People who both were interested, it would be interested in something like this, or knew the original, kind of some of the older programs we were involved in, and and are missing the loss of it. It's like, well, we're happy to fill in that gap, to step into that role, as it were. So there's an element of kind of spreading the word that's definitely going to be part of that, both to organizations. So, for example, if you are involved in an organization that routinely works with teenagers, either in the home education space or not, that's one thing that Pathfinder gets to do beyond what GenJ did, is that do we have a background in home education? Yeah, we all do. Are we limited to that? No, we're not. That is something we can do that's quite a bit broader than that, which is something that is distinctly different from Pathfinder, from what GenJ used to be, is that we don't have an exclusively homeschool focus. We're very much friendly to it. I mean, we come out of HSLDA's political advocacy, policy advocacy, and kind of our political work there. So we definitely, that's never going to be far from our heart. But at the same time, we're not limited there, as it were. So if you know people that'd be interested in partnering with us as far as providing some of these programs, content, education, etc., let us know. Put us in
So
contact.
So like as an example, just sorry to cut you off, but like just to say it plainly, if you know somebody in the public or private education sector that works at a school and you're like, "Hey, these people can come to your school, provide this program, and it is known to provide like not social economic, but like political credits or government credits or
Government,
like
social
it is.
studies, history, civics, all that.
I'm not sure it would be count as an accredited program, but it is not uncommon. There have been circumstances where GenJ worked with public school programs and they counted as
And
class
private school
credits,
programs. Yep.
and private school
Yep, we
programs, and
did.
they counted as class credits. So if
And,
you're,
and community
yeah.
organizations. So you'll see places, everything from like libraries to communities and civic organizations that are local. Um, that we've worked with, obviously, public and private schools. Again, not terribly common. That wasn't really the focus of HSLDA, as obviously that's
Right.
fine. But we had unique opportunities. But for Pathfinder, we can do all three, and we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you know those opportunities, you have those opportunities, you know people have those opportunities, please send them our way. We'd love to have that connection. We'd be eager to do that. So there's that piece of it. That's kind of the parents' role of it, is both engaging the students. If you have specific skills, I will say there are some parents that are helping with the production of this. So there's a few parents that are very actively involved in this as well. That'd be great. Like if they want to participate and volunteer, we have one mom that's actively invested in this. She's helping handle our insurance. Like that's probably not something I'm going to have a high schooler know how to do, but she has, 18 years of background in commercial insurance. I'm like, great. So we have a whole list of things we need, which isn't something most people think about, but you absolutely have to have done to do it right. So they're working on that with us right now. So again, some of those skills can be really, really helpful. We have another alumni that's helping do database administration for the systems that we're setting up. So like there's some stuff that sounds really technical and it's not at all, I mean, it's very missional in the sense that we have to have this to do mission, but it's not what people think of when they think of programs. Parents can be involved in that as well. We'd love to have the help. And then lastly, of course, there's the students, right?
Yes.
If you want to be involved in this, if you want to both come to a place that's going to feel, I think, fairly familiar with some new and amazing opportunities mixed into it, and you want to bring the friends that were interested in coming last time, watch the website, watch the social media channels, watch the Discord. As these opportunities come up, we're going to get these out and kind of in front of people. When we get our email service and the rest of it, make sure you're signed up for those. Follow us online. We're going to have all of those different pieces available so you can get connected to us, stay connected, and then move into a new alumni core. And we'd love to have you there as well as we start building that piece. So, and then lastly, for anyone in any of those categories, if you happen to know organizations that are interested in partnering with us or would be interested in partnering with something like us, please put them in touch with us. That's actually several of the entities that are helping get this off the ground. There's several organizations that have worked with us for a long time that are like, you know what? We want to help this happen. Great. We'd love to have that. So there's that. There will be some unique opportunities that are going to be something that GenJ's never did. That are part of this, that are already in the pipeline, that are really pretty incredible. So again, follow the social media, follow us on email, follow us on the website. Some of those are going to come up, and I really can't tilt my hand yet because they're not finished, but they're going to be really cool. Yeah, I can't say more. But there's going to be some unique opportunities to do stuff at the federal level that we were never able to do in prior incarnations of this that I think are going to be really exciting for parents, leadership core members, alumni, students, etc. That's coming, and I can't tilt my hand quite yet.
Okay. And then the last thing that all three of those categories can do, well, more the first two than the last, because if you're a student, then, well, you can be a student of any age and be broke as a joke. So,
True.
but if you have $5 a month, where is there a place that somebody could put $5 a month into Pathfinder's
Sure. Yeah.
pocket?
Yeah, we are this is set up as a nonprofit. If you were part of GenJ, one of the things that was originally part of that is you had to be a member. That went away. Okay? This is
Right.
a like donor driven operation. So to make this work, yes, there'll be costs for some programs. We're going to try and keep that as low as we reasonably can. Okay? To be able to, pay for the program, but we're not making any money off this, I guarantee you. Okay? But this is going to be something that is funded and supported by donors.
Right.
So we're going to have there'll be a way to do monthly donations or regular donations, a variety of different types on our website. We'd love to have people that are willing to partner with us and invest in the future of our
Hmm.
country and the future of the students that we're serving in developing this program. If you're interested in something that's kind of more than a standard recurrent donation or a larger gift, please reach out to us directly. We can talk about that. We're going to be setting up a couple different things to help kind of be able to set this up for long-term success financially. So if you have people that are interested in investing in a long-term way or in a substantive way of some kind, that'd be amazing. But honestly, $10 a month, $25 a month, $100 a month, that does wonders to making sure we have kind of the basic bread and butter to make these different programs work. Because we can't do the programs if we don't have the staff, squared away, the insurance, the administrative stuff we need to be able to make these all work. So though that kind of fundamental foundational support is going to be absolutely crucial to make this happen,
Yeah.
and that'll be
And
projectpathfinder.net.
yeah, and so at projectpathfinder.net you can find all these things. You can find the socials. Those of course will be linked in the description below. But like, let's bounce back to the beginning of this. How many lives would you say that GenJ has touched, like students particularly? How many students have come through these programs? If you
About
had
33,000 students.
33,000 students,
A little
if
higher. Yeah.
half of those students donated $1 a month, that would be $16,000 a month, helping to keep Pathfinder up and running. So
Yeah.
it's like, I am not financially not it's not to say that I'm not financially well off, like I'm broke, but guys, if like $5 a month, if I give $5 a month and then 10 more people give $5 a month, that's $50 a month for Pathfinder, helping fund the next generation of Americans. And if even more people do that, it's fine. You don't have to donate $25 a month or $100 a month. You can, for the price of a Netflix subscription, make the future of America a little bit brighter. Like, it's
If you want
not.
to put those in different terms, even we
Yeah.
could also do one where we have basically 2,000 people that are willing to put 25 bucks a month in. That that has us operational. Okay, so it's like in one sense it sounds like a lot of money. Like we're talking like, $750,000 to make this thing run annually. But in another sense, that's not actually that much to make this work well. Obviously, we can do a lot more with that. People have sat down with me over the course of years, said, "What is your vision for what this looks like long term?" And I've sat down and painted some pretty spectacular visions that I genuinely would love to see come to fruition. If that means, for example, that one of our camp programs is available within driving distance everywhere in the continental U.S., that's one of my goals. Okay. Does that mean it's going to happen in my lifetime immediately? I don't know. I would love that to happen. Does that mean that one of our, we're taking our 2-day programs where they're happening in every state and available? Absolutely, I'd love to do that. Where we have developed iterative versions of this to kind of fill in the rest of the gaps as far as the different aspects of American government and citizen and civic engagement, we'd love to do that too. We have a series of different things that can be done in that regard. At GenJ, we had a foreign policy kind of and a domestic program, one that was kind of the U.S. government focused within the 50 states, one that was the U.S. government relative to the rest of the world. Right now, we're looking at doing the domestic version of that as kind of a domestic focused camp for this next year. We'd love to bring both entities back and more. Okay, there's several other things that we think could be done at a full week-long version of it. Again, that requires dollars, time, and eventually staff and investment in that. So if people are willing to support us in getting that going, that would mean the world to us. That would be incredible.
Well, Joel, that seems like a pretty good place to end it. This has been incredible talking to you about all this stuff. It's crazy to me to think that where I was, 7, 8, 9. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna stop numbering now. When
You don't want to answer that all the way.
no, nope. So like, it's crazy to think where I was as a student, and now I'm sitting here interviewing you over the dismissal of one organization onto something that's much bigger and better. Hopefully, God go with you and your family and your
Thank you.
staff,
Thank you.
because this is a mission. You are I would know better than a lot of people that you guys are approaching this from a place of Christ centeredness, and I look forward to watching what God does with you and your team, and I think everybody else that's watching will too. or is looking forward
You and me
to
both.
too. So,
Thank you, Ethan. Hope you have a
yep.
great day.
Yep. And as always,
Bye.
guys, if you want, you can find all the links to everything down in the description below, and we'll try and keep those updated as often as we can. So, without further ado, signing off. We'll see you guys next time.